I've been homeless for 7 years now, and I've gone through the 4 seasons. I was sleeping on the trains, and I was too proud to, tell my friends where I was sleeping. From since 2006 up until now, it's just been this roller coaster of just ups and downs, but more downs than ups. But for some reason, I'm still here. I'm still above ground. I had disappeared for a while after I became homeless, just simply because I was embarrassed. I just didn't know how to face my friends and my family about the situation. If I ran into somebody on the streets that I haven't seen in a while and they didn't know what happened to me, the worst thing they could ask me is, how are you doing, Anthony? And I would just be ashamed because I wouldn't know how to respond to that. Like, how do you tell somebody, oh, I'm homeless, I'm living on the streets, sleeping on trains and buses. I guess my pride kept me from letting people in. It's something I regret. At first glance, I don't look like the typical homeless New Yorker. When I'm on the train or if I'm anywhere really and a homeless person comes up to me and they ask me for change or if they ask me if I can spare some food, I know how that feels to, go hungry and to not know where your next meal is going to come from and to have no money in your pocket and to not know where your next dollar is going to come from. I became homeless is because I was evicted. I was evicted from the house I was living in. My mother didn't want to tell me that she was dying. In the months prior to her being shipped to the hospice, she was falling behind in the rent because she couldn't work anymore. She lost a considerable amount of weight to the point where I didn't even recognize my own mother anymore. She started losing her hair because they were giving her chemotherapy, but it was just nothing that they can do at that point. The doctors were just, when the doctors had that bleak outlook, that's when I knew it was over. I knew that at any moment my mother was going to be gone. And I had to figure out what would be my next step because since I'm an only child, she's a single mother, I never met my real father. It was no way of me trying to find him and locate him and tell him what was going on. It was basically just, okay, what am I gonna do from now? How am I gonna make it? I had no work experience and I had no clue of how to, maneuver through the system. I had to go to social services for the first time. So I went to social services to find out what is it that I have to do in order to, maintain this apartment. Then that's when I found out about landlord-tenant courts and succession rights. The landlord allowed me to sign the lease over into my name, knowing full well that when I signed the lease over, I also signed over the debt. And that was his way of getting me out the apartment because most of the people who lived in the building have been there since the 70s and the 80s, so they had rent-controlled rent. So as soon as I got the apartment, it's already $5,000 to $6,000 in debt, and I have no job experience whatsoever. I had to go to back-to-work programs, I had to go for EVR appointments, and I had to go and recertify. So from the time that she passed up until the time that I was evicted, I was running around trying to get my Social Security card, trying to find out my number, getting my birth certificate. After she had passed, I was alone in a 2-bedroom apartment just walking around, and everywhere I looked, there was just memories. I was looking at the chair that my mother sat in. I was looking at the couch me and my mother used to watch TV on, and I just felt like lost. I was like, there's nothing more I could do. And I basically decided that, might as well just stay here until the ship sinks. I'll, go down with the ship. I stayed until the very last day that the marshals came. Landlord and the marshals came, knocked on the door, said, okay, you know what time it is. And I was just like, okay, well, let me just grab my things. And it was like, well, you got 10 minutes because we're going to lock the door. I've been to drop-in sensors. I've done the parks, done the trains and roofs. I slept on every letter and number line that there is. I know in my mind what trains, how long each route is from the first stop to the last stop, which train is the best train to sleep on at night. It was the winter time. I just wanted to get out of that situation. I didn't want to ride the trains for the rest of my life and end up becoming a statistic. So I decided to swallow my pride and go to the 30th Street Men's Shelter and just see what kind of help they could give me. At the very least, it would be a place for me to sleep at night, and I'd be able to get some food and possibly get some help and get pointed in the right direction on where I could find some help in this city. That's when I realized I'm at rock bottom. I'm really at rock bottom. I have nothing but the clothes on my back and the clothes in my book bag. The 30th Street Men's Shelter wasn't a permanent shelter. It was just a temporary shelter for them to assess me and to figure out where I'm going to be in a permanent shelter. And then I'm supposed to stay in the permanent shelter and go through the hoops, and I'll be able to get my own apartment from there. But it wasn't that simple. I got robbed, got my locker broke into several times. I had lost my stuffed animal, my Snoopy dog. That was the saddest thing, and that, to me, to this day, it really is sad when I think about it, because I had that dog with me since I was 3 years old. After about 6 months in the homeless shelter, that's when I just said, you know what, to hell with this. I might as well just try it out on the streets and do it myself. I asked myself, you know, how am I going to get out of this? How are you going to pull yourself out of this, Anthony? Everybody has a dream. I think dreams are what keep people going. It gives people the courage and the energy to look past the darkness and look past the things that aren't going well in their lives and to keep looking forward to what could be. I have to keep reminding myself that you're smart enough to find a way to survive, so that way you can look back and look at the past 7 years as a drop in the bucket compared to the happiness that you can find, that you can get yourself to.